Aloha and welcome in Ha'oli Makahiki Ho, or Happy New Year for the last time this year. Thank you guys for checking in. Congratulations to everyone who's following us. We went 2-1 last week. Let me start before I get to the quote of the day or the quote of the week. Let me start with, again, we talked no excuses. We had Seattle in. Now, watching that game, you guys know it was never in doubt. It was never in doubt. The interception in the red zone, we were squeezing it out. Honestly, to be honest, I'll tell you a little secret. We were hoping, again, Seahawks, I want them. I wanted the number one seed. I want Seahawks in Denver in the Super Bowl. You guys know who followed us since week one, why. But more than that is, at this time, as you've been following us, we talk about hedging, we talk about being smart, we talk about alternate play. And so we had an abundance of tickets where we had Carolina plus the points. We had Carolina money line and Carolina plus the points. Obviously, the points covered on some big parlays, 3-team, 4-team parlays, where our second leg was San Fran plus 3.5 and 4.5. And so 13-10 would have been perfect. And when the interception happened, still we were happy. We went with it. But when, I'm not going to lie, when Myers doinked that second field goal with, like, at the 2-minute mark, so you're looking at the clock going, okay, it's a two possession game. I was like, oh my God, is San Francisco going to drive the field and score the backdoor touchdown and keep me alive? Because if San Fran covers that 3.5 and 4.5, and then on my last leg we had a couple of different ways it plays out. We were hedging then the Chargers, but the Chargers were such a big dog, but we had them, and again, even with the points, Denver covered basically as you saw, so it wouldn't have mattered. But at that point, we were sitting pretty, and then the other hedge was we skipped that game in a lot of spots, and we took Pittsburgh money line and plus the points, and as we know, it all worked out. But San Fran not covering killed all of those tickets, so it was irrelevant at that point. But my God, I mean, talk about almost hitting the dream. But anyway, so we hit, as you guys know, we hit Seattle. We are perfect this year on college. Now, there's a little disclaimer to that. You guys are gonna be, yeah, but Piff, Joe, come on, you guys only gave out 2, but we were perfect, 2-0 college, and we will be releasing a couple more college. We're gonna give you a couple of leans tonight. Going into this week, and of course the national championship is coming up. We don't know yet. We don't know who's going to be in, and we don't know what the lines are going to be. So we may have a pick on the national championship play. Again, we're here. We are only interested in one thing: is making you money, and looking for an edge, and any slant and any type of mistake by the book. Again, and you go, well, the books never make a mistake. They do. A perfect example of the books making a monster mistake was, you guys know about team totals, right? Over going into the season, they were way off on Chicago. Now, I don't think they were wrong on Chicago. I think Chicago overplayed their hand and has far exceeded expectations by the most seasoned odds makers. So I think Chicago is right there at 9.5. I think that, again, that's why there's an over and an under. I think Chicago's number was accurate. We took over. Obviously, we can show you guys the receipts and the tickets down the road. At the end of the year, we're going to show you guys all the winners and all that. But the big mistake I'm talking about is Seattle. The odds makers had Seattle at an over-under of 7.5. When we saw, now I don't personally ever bet the over-under totals for teams, because I don't like tying up huge amounts of money for long waits. Even and then you'll say, "Oh, Piff, don't you guys say well, you're allergic to money?" No, it's not that. Again, it's easy money. That was easy money. but we apply it in different avenues. So again, we basically took that over idea and said, okay, if they're going to exceed, so last year they were 10. The odds makers had them at 7.5 this year, but we looked at it and we thought that they would improve on last year. And so if they're going to improve on 10, that puts them at 11 or higher, right? And at 11 or higher, we said, okay, they're going to make the playoffs. So what we did was we bought exacta tickets, future tickets. The best bet to us was the Seahawks to win the NFC West, because they were in a lot of places, they were in fourth place of 4. Nobody had given them a chance. And so again, I think that's one of the reasons this young team is playing with a chip on their shoulder. But in any event, the odds makers, we feel, got that one wrong, and there was value to be had there, and we took advantage of that value. Anyway, so last week, again, wrapping up last week, we had Seattle, the college game, we had Indiana, easy winner, happy for that, going 2-0 in the Sunday, and we were like, come on, because we had one perfect week this year. We did have a 5-0 week, and actually it was an 8-0 week if you guys go back and watch, because we gave you a lot of extras, and in essence that week, and we went 8-0, and actually gave you even a few more other picks besides that, and everything went right for us that weekend. I don't think we had anything wrong that weekend. It was crazy. But this weekend, going into Cincinnati, I don't know, for the seasoned gambler, there's an old saying that we were on the right side, but except for the score, just like the Chicago Green Bay game a couple of weeks ago, we gave you Chicago. We were on the wrong side, but for the score, where we got lucky. So again, this is what happens in betting, in the betting markets, and so you get lucky sometimes, and sometimes you get unlucky. In the case of Cincinnati, go back if you watch that game. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Shitdoor Sanders did not beat Joe Burrow in Week 18 of the NFL season, just like he did not beat Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 17. Cleveland's defense beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cleveland's defense and Joe Burrow beat himself in Week 18, because if you go back and watch, he threw a pick six, and then there was, I believe, a fumble recovery. Both went the other way for instantaneous 7 points each, and that was a 14-point hole. Take away those two, again, it's not excuse. It's just an explanation of, we feel we were on the right side except for the score. Was Cincinnati, other than that, ran the table and outscored them more than enough to cover the 6.5 that we told you to lay, with buying back the extra point, blah blah blah, whatever. And even at 7.5 and 8, more than enough to cover their Shador basically manufactured one partial drive with one long field goal resulting in 3 points. Other than that, you take away those 14 points, easy cover, and Cincinnati would have won. But unfortunately, I'm crying about going 2-1, right? So hey, give me that every week next year. We'll cry together all the way to the bank. But I just wanted to explain that we were this close again to going 3-0, unfortunately, and Joe Burrow did not help our cause in that. All right, let's quickly get to our quote of the week here, which is, I find this another strong woman for us here. Focus more on the people who inspire you than the people who annoy you. You'll get much further in life. Kristen Butler, she's a CEO of a thing called Power of Positivity. It's a global movement. It's a big company. Her and her husband, multi-millionaires now in basically, positive thinking and power, a couple inspirational speeches and whatnot. But I found this quote, and it kind of moved me. I hope that it affects you. Again, focus more on the people who inspire you than the people who annoy you. You'll get much further in life. And I mean, when you really apply common sense, kind of true, no? So appreciate you guys, and wanted to share that one with you guys. Okay, let's get to this week. I'm so chaotic right now this new year. But we have a lot of information to get to. So we want to cover this week really quickly. And gosh darn it, no wonder I can't hear myself. We want to cover really quickly all the lines, the wild card weekend, and we do have on Thursday Ole Miss and Miami, and then on Friday we have Indiana Hoosiers and Oregon Ducks in the CFP. So we are going to touch on that a little bit as well. Kind of a 2-for-1 here all together and everything. But let's start out with the lines. So in order, or in the order I have it, you have the Rams, LA Rams on the road, minus it as of right now. So right now it's Wednesday. As of right now, it is solid across the board, 10.5 and 46.5. But there are 11s popping up just about everywhere. I believe that by Saturday's kickoff, this line will be 13. I honestly believe it can get up to a key number of 13. It could get to 14 if a respected sharp shows up, and especially if there's some serious money to come in late. It could get to 14, but I don't think it's going to get that high because this is still an NFL playoff game. But it won't surprise me that it gets to 13. My point, again, if you follow us since week 1 and stuff, be smart. Hold off. This line's not going down. There's no way in hell this line is coming off this 10.5. So it's you already know the direction it's moving. Not to mention, if you look at the vig or the juice, at plus 120 or 130 or 140 or whatever, your book has these lines at taking the Rams. They are charging a little bit extra. It's a little bit more vig on the Rams side than you would normally like to pay. We're not giving you a side yet on that, but they are the books are basically inviting people, begging people to take Carolina. And I know for a fact in all of our data collection and all of the sharps that we check in with each week, all of the wise guys and everything that we factor in and listen to and all that, one guy said it best, and he's a risk manager at a sports book, and he basically said that they are going to be rooting for Carolina. They are going to need Carolina. A couple that they're going to need, I'll tell you right now, that we know they're going to need Carolina big time, especially there's a lot of money, Rams money line. So factor out the 10.5. If Carolina upsets the Rams, the books are going to be ecstatic. It's going to be a early Christmas for them in January because for 2026, because it is heavy and nothing but Rams money. I believe it's like in the 90 percentile. The next game is Green Bay. Now this one's tricky because there are lines going both ways. There's a lot of pick'ems. We found steady a lot of Green Bay -1, -1.5. There are a couple Chicago -1s as well, but it did open Chicago -1, and then it immediately flipped to Green Bay -1, a pick or -1, and now it's kind of like, if shop around, depending on what side you want to be on. My point is that you can get either side to be the dog or the favorite, depending on what you're looking to accomplish. Green Bay, I just for what do you call it, for no bookkeeping sake or whatever you want to say, we are gonna talking about it here and now. We're saying Green Bay is -1.5 and 45.5 is a line that I have found that we use consistently. So but again, shop around for that one if depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, the third game is another, just like Green Bay and Chicago. This game is as well two-sided depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But we have Buffalo at -1 and 51.5. But we have seen Buffalo -1.5, and we have seen Jacksonville -1. So again, and the 51.5 has been pretty steady. But again, depending on what side you want, right now, shop around. There is a line that favors either side depending on what you're trying to accomplish. The next game is another NFC matchup. San Francisco on the road. They are the walk-in wounded. They've lost their linebacker. I believe they brought in an old school linebacker. I can't remember his name. I was just reading about it. But they are basically glue and duct tape right now on defense. But that being said, Philly is now -4.5. So this line was 3.5. It has slowly moved up to Philly -4.5 and 46.5. Again, this is not a pick, but we just want to educate you. And a lot of the smart guys, wise guys, seasoned bettors and stuff will tell you that when a line is 4 and 4.5, you generally want to take the favorite. The odds maker is kind of telling you a little bit of information with that number, and so there's an old adage to it or whatever about take too long to explain and everything. But basically, that you blindly want to take Philly minus the 4 or 4.5. But again, it's not our pick yet. We're not letting you. We're just kind of letting you know stuff that the professional bettors know. All right. The fifth game, we have New England -3.5. That's pretty steady, although there are some -3 New England -3s, and 46.5. The Chargers are on the road going to New England, and we'll get into that game in a little bit here. We're going to get into all the games, but that one is pretty steady and pretty been consistent all week long since the opening. And finally, that's a Sunday night game, by the way. And then finally on Monday night, it's a Monday night game. So oh my God, we have football guys Thursday, the CFP. Friday, a great game, CFP. And then Saturday starts the wild card. Sunday's got the wild cards. And we have wild card Monday night. We have Houston Texans on the road, -3.5 at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 39.5. Oh my God. First of all, to the kicker loop, our hearts go out to him. I am not a Baltimore fan. In fact, they are one of the franchises I love to hate. But that being said, that kid Luke, oh my God, your heart bleeds for the kid. And for anybody out there that's going on social media, threatening and saying these awful things to him and his wife, and look, it's a football game. We get it. I don't like losing money. I call referees stupid. I call head coaches stupid because what are you doing and all that. Fair enough. But threatening a person and saying some vile things that have been said to this poor guy and his wife and his family, it's like, get a life, man. In that manner, just, then you shouldn't be betting and you shouldn't be watching football. Go find something else to do. But anyway, we just wanted to touch on that a little bit. But anyway, to Loop, Tyler Loop, I believe is his name, the kicker for Baltimore. You'll get better. You'll have another chance and take advantage of your opportunity when it comes. All right. So anyway, that is the 6 games. Seattle, number 1 seed. Denver, number 1 seed. Both are being called by many, many experts and pundits in the sports news media fakes. That my only response to, and again, obviously I'm a homer when it comes to Seattle, but my only response to that, I don't care who it is. Again, like, I hate the Niners and we hate the Rams because of our division. It's a love-hate, it's a we hate them because they're our division rivals, not, personally. But I give them, like, what San Fran has done this year, tip of the cap to them. With all their injuries, Shanahan has done an amazing coaching job. That team plays for each other, and they are an amazing, amazing franchise for what they've accomplished. Even though when you dive deep into the analytics, their schedule was not that tough in comparison to some others. But they had to play the Hawks twice. They had to play the Rams twice. They beat the Hawks once, and they beat the Rams once. Impressive to say the least. Not to mention, they did have a couple of other tough games on their schedule. All I can say is that when it comes to, anyway, my only point is that you can give a team their respect even though you may be rooting against them and hate them. A spade is a spade. And when it comes to Denver and Seattle, I look at it this way. They both earned the number one seeds. I think you can get lucky for a week or two or a stretch in the NFL season. I think that things can fall your way and bounce your way. A lot of people are saying certain things about certain teams. We'll get into that a little bit here and there. Like Chicago, for example, they've got a lot of lucky bounces. They've won a lot of one-score games this year. They could easily have like I was in one show I was watching. They could easily, if the ball doesn't bounce their way in a certain moment in like six or 9 games this year, they could easily have 6 to 9 more losses than they currently have. But they did what it took. Somebody on the team rose up in that moment to make the play, and so I don't think it's fair or reasonable or reality to call a number one seed lucky that they're the number one seed. You can say they got lucky in the last game to earn the number one seed. Sure, okay. But they were in the position to earn the number one seed. So did they really get, again, they might get a lucky bounce here or there to get a game here or there. But to win 11, 12, 13, or 14 games in the NFL, that's a little bit beyond luck. That there's a lot of skill, preparation, and execution involved. So just saying. Anyway, so we have Seattle and Denver off on their bye weeks because they are the number one seeds. An interesting thing, as well as we're touching on number one seeds, is there's a lot of smoke going on right now. A lot of coaches getting fired. We got Gannon for Arizona. Pete Carroll, for Gannon and Carroll, not a surprise, right? That was a blind man could see that coming. I'm a little surprised, not super surprised, but I'm a little surprised with the Raheem Morris thing because they were basically tied for number one with Tampa and Carolina, but due to tiebreakers, they did not win that division. And yes, they lost to the Jets. One more win against the Jets, and they've got that division. And honestly, I'm kind of sad that they didn't, because to me, right now, in this very moment, in my humble opinion, I think that Atlanta or New Orleans are playing much better football right now than Tampa or Carolina, who Carolina obviously is in the playoffs as the NFC South winner. Anyway, there was smoke across the board. Kevin Stefanski then gets fired for the Browns. Again, they're another franchise. They can't get it right. They can't get quarterback right. They can't get coach right. They actually got quarterback right for a minute in Baker Mayfield, and then they, moved away from him, which I think was a mistake. That was better than what they had since or have now. Excuse me. And then Kevin Stefanski, coach of the year twice in his short run there, and now he's fired. You're going to know, as far as these coaches getting fired. Oh, and before I go into this rant, Harbaugh from Baltimore got fired as well. And he was in a 2 or 3 hour meeting going into that meeting. So I don't think that he went into that meeting. I don't think that, again, my opinion, no known facts or anything, but I don't think ownership or the organization, Baltimore, went into that meeting with their minds made up that they were going to fire Harbaugh. I think that it came to that in that meeting due to a few things. I'll give you my hypothetical in how they got there if I have time. But in any event, you'll know as an organization like the Browns that how bad of a mistake you just made in the minutes, hours, days, and weeks that followed the firing, because I think reports have it that Stefanski's already been reached out to. His agent's been contacted by like 5 teams. Well, Harbaugh is like the number one prospect right now because there are 6 NFL job openings, but according to reports by ESPN and NFL Network, 7 teams have reached out to not Stefanski, to Harbaugh's agent. Well, there's only 6 openings, so somebody with a coach is thinking, well, if I can get Harbaugh, or if we can get Harbaugh, then the coach we have, it could be bye-bye. Now, that could be a multitude. I mean, you could see that being the Jets, possibly. I mean, again, I'm just speculating, but you could see that being the Jets. You could see that being Miami. Although I don't think it's Miami. I think they're going to roll with their guy one more year, because he really, based on everything, when you look at the totality of it, and they got rid of the GM, he hasn't been a barn burner by any stretch, but he hasn't been that bad. He is a clever, offensive-minded guy. But in any event, it could have been, it might have been Miami. I don't think it was, but it could have been. Then there was possibly Dallas, Jerry Jones, but he doesn't like to spend money on coaches. As we know, he can't get head coach right because he wants to control the head coach. And so when he had the winners that he had in Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells, it didn't last long because he just doesn't have enough control. Who else was it that we were thinking about for a second? I was right. Coming into this, I do a lot of this by off the top of my head, but who was the other? And maybe Cincinnati. We thought, okay, possibly Cincinnati with Zach Taylor, but again, Cincinnati ownership has a reputation of being cheap, and they don't want to pay head coaches the big bucks. So probably not them. But anyway, there's a lot of interesting moves this so far. We know that the GM for Miami, Chris Greer, was fired, right? And the personnel overall sucks. But they have hit on players like, now this wasn't a draft, this was a steal. Jordan Brooks, who was drafted by the Seahawks out of Texas Tech a few years ago, and when under Pete Carroll, when they drafted him, even Seahawks Nation was like, "What? Who is this guy?" And then it made it worse that he didn't really play the first year because Bobby Wagner was still there, along with KJ Wright, and Jordan Brooks really couldn't get on the field. But it was almost like a good quarterback where he was behind Bobby to learn from a Hall of Famer and play behind Bobby, in which he eventually earned his spot. Eventually, Bobby moved on. Bobby got old, and Jordan stepped up. It was the rough part of the Seahawk end of Pete Carroll's tenure, and then he was gone. But while he was here, man, again, if you're a football junkie and you watch tape, Jordan Brooks in Miami, he leads the NFL in tackles like a linebacker. He plays like a young, faster Bobby Wagner. If he can last as far as injuries go and kind of string out, an 8 or 10 year career, because that is a lot of wear and tear on the body, and he does not hold back. Jordan Brooks doesn't, just like Bobby. I think that he is going to be one of those guys. Now, guys like him and like Luke Kuechly, they definitely need hardware to kind of rise up to the level of Hall of Fame. But the eye test, he passes the eye test, and if you look at the stats, he checks all those boxes. It's just a matter of, can he get himself into the playoffs and maybe win a championship with a team. Again, 52 other guys, right? But Jordan Brooks is one of my favorite players in the league, and I wish we could go back and somehow have never, as a Seahawk, never lost Jordan Brooks, because I believe with the team we have right now, if you added Jordan Brooks to the middle linebacker position on this defense right now, and again, I get it, chemistry, there's a lot that plays into it, but man, just hypothetically, like they say on paper, oh my God, I mean, it would take us from we're already a top 3, top 5 defense, but it would definitely be impressive, and it would free the guys in the back up even more, because he is a run stopper, he is a pass rusher, he can cover in the short field, wide receivers and tight ends. The guy is just amazing. Anyway, enough about him.
my only point was that Miami does recognize, and this year for Miami is going to be interesting going forward because they're going to roll with this coach. They have one more year. I think what they're going to do is they're going to roll with Tua one more year. There'll be a 7-win team, kind of basically, and then next year, supposedly again. This is a fluid thing, but reports are that there's as much as 7 quarterbacks coming out in 2027, and Arch Manning be one of them. But the kid from Oregon, Moore. There's reports now that he's probably coming out this year, but it's still to me a coin flip. But if he doesn't, he'll have one more year under his belt, experience in college, which is basically like the AAA, getting these guys ready for the pros. And so I think that makes him even a stronger candidate for a first round draft choice because Todd McShay, who is a phenomenal judge of talent, him and the ESPN clown, they do the draft, but McShay really knows what he's doing. He really knows this stuff. He watches a lot of tape. He understands the game. He understands football. He's worked in it for over 25 years. And like he was saying, that he actually thinks that more it's very complicated. So I'm not gonna piss everybody off and get into that right now. But on his draft board, his first draft board, and we've got a long way to go to April, but on his first draft board, he actually has Moore 1 and Mendoza going 2. So, for what it's worth, again, it's just one guy's opinion with McShay, and we got a long way to go to April. You still got the combine, you still got Friday's game, which they're going to go head to head, and you're going to then see them play each other basically. So there's a lot of information and data still to be collected. But right now I was watching something on Colin Cowherd, who is phenomenal. If you guys don't watch Colin Cowherd, The Herd with Colin, he is a very smart guy, very intuitive, very deep, and very layered in his understanding of sports and football. We don't ever not absorb and consume and digest everything Colin says weekly. 3 hours a day, he gives plus a little extras here and there. 5 days a week, we consume it all before we make any decisions, guesses, and so forth, because Colin really knows his stuff. So shout out to Colin. Dable, as you guys know, old news, but there's rumors now. So Dable and Minnesota's defensive coordinator may be kind of a 1-2 combo going to as a coaching duo somewhere. I think that's just speculation, and I don't think that they are tied to each other in any way. But they're saying how Dable's a really good. Dable's like the guy for New England, Josh McDaniel. McDaniel's had 2 swipes at head coach, right? The Raiders in Denver. Failed miserably both times because it's a different gig, right? Colin makes an analogy that there's a lot of VPs, but not everybody can be president. Not everybody can be the shot caller, the guys making the hard decisions and all of that. That's so true in life, right? It's like we're all cut out to do specific things. It's not a knock on anybody. Dable is just a really good OC. Very, again, he was early years with Josh. What do you call it? There in Buffalo, the quarterback. So Josh Allen. So Dable does have some. I mean, he made Coach of the Year at the Giants. Got Daniels got to a playoff with Daniels. So just he is definitely cut out to be an OC, but he's had a swipe at being a head coach. Didn't quite work out, right? Anyway, so the New York Giants GM still apparently has a job. Cincy's coach and director of personnel safe for now, apparently. That one I don't quite get. I think that they're kind of on their. It's going to be an interesting offseason with Burrow, because I think that he's taken some public swipes at the organization and decision making overall, and I think that he's kind of sending a message like he's made enough money, he can go and live his life and be happy. I obviously think that he wants to compete for a championship, but they've never given him a decent offensive line. I think the highest graded offensive line as a whole he's had was like in the 20s in the NFL in any given year he's been in the league. I think like 26 is like the highest graded offensive line as a whole that he had, which is horrible, especially for a top-notch. And they went to the Super Bowl once already. So if ownership in Cincinnati and a GM or their director of personnel, whatever, knew what they were doing just a little bit, because you've got your weapons. You've got T. Higgins, you've got Jamar Chase, you've got Chase Brown, the running back. You've got all your offensive pieces there. You've got a couple of tight ends. You've even Yoshavas is a third wide receiver that's as good as any number 3 in the league. Tough guy. He'll work any route. And these guys are like the best of the best in the league. And their defense has honestly gotten, from week 10, has gotten a lot better as well. So they're an interesting team next year if they can kind of build on where they ended this past year, even though they lost to Cleveland. But if they can build it, but again, they don't hit on the draft like this, like the Green Bay Packers, the Seahawks, and the Rams are 3 organizations that say what you want, but they hit on their drafts. I think it was Colin Cowherd who said, go back and look at the last 9 early picks from the Seahawks, or first rounders for the Seahawks, and they've hit on every one. Imanwari being the safety, he is like the linchpin and the key to one of the reasons why our defense is so phenomenal and hitting at such a high rate. So again, there's a lot going forward, and why I'm bringing all this up too is because we're going to start talking to you guys once or twice a week throughout the off season, from the end of the Super Bowl up into the draft. And we're going to be really excited about going into the draft, and we're going to be talking about personnel, team movements, that kind of stuff, and leading into the 2026-27 season, where we can maybe help coach you guys and point out some interesting wagers and investments, we like to call it, and long shots and whatnot going into the season, where again, like this past year, where it's now coming to fruition, we have tickets. We're happy to show them to you guys. We'll show them here probably at the end of the year. Right now, we don't want to jinx it. Gamblers are superstitious. Big surprise. But we have tons of tickets where we can show you guys, the exactas. Excuse me, really quick. Apologies, folks. I'm back. Somebody doesn't realize I'm busy at work, and they're blowing up my phone, and I did not have it on silent. I apologize so much for that. Anyway, as I was saying, the tickets. We have tons of tickets, and we didn't bet a lot of them. I mean, we might have done basically like 20, which that's not a lot when you think about all the different combinations of teams that can meet in the Super Bowl. 32 squared. It's a lot more than 20. But we avoided it. To our credit, we figured that there would be a big drop off. Kansas City, with all the one score, they call it the regression, or regression to the mean, math and all that stuff. They had so many, like I think they were 11-0 or 11-1 in one score games the previous year. So we said, okay, that's not sustainable or going to continue. Not to mention, you're looking at like the exactas. So if you were to take Kansas City versus Philly, right, in last year August, as a Super Bowl possible matchup and bet money towards it, your odds were very low. It wasn't worth it or I mean, obviously, if you know for a fact those two are going to meet, then anything you're getting better than 2 to 1 is easy money, right? If you know the future, but no one does. So you apply all what you know, all what you think, do some hypotheticals, but again, you can rely on always rely on good organizations, and then you want to look at odds. Obvious, this is what we're getting at is you want to look at odds because so a lot of the favorites last year that everybody jumped on, right? Detroit, Kansas City. Who else was really strongly in there? Because Philly ended up making it, and we avoided Philly. We knew they would be in the playoffs, but we didn't think they would be a number 1 seed, and we were right. But we stayed away from that bet, and now I'll touch on real quick. So make notes, because then like with Philly, so in August, they're like a 10 to 1 or less. Those aren't good odds to tie up your money. When they go into a losing streak in the season, and a perfect example was, Baltimore. We avoided Baltimore. That was a big favorite that we avoided. To be honest, a lot of our avoidance with Baltimore is my disdain for Baltimore. I do not like that team for so many reasons. And I think that although Jackson might be one of the most impressive athletes in the sport, he's not high level. He's not a high level thinker on the field, quarterback wise, like your Tom Brady, like your Matthew Stafford, like even somebody like C.J. Stroud. We think is better as a thinker. Looking at the defense, he's more of a hike and react, and he's just so athletic that he can get away with it, but it's catching up with him. So anyway, long story short, we avoided Baltimore, but then when they started out 1-5, and when the odds got to really high, ridiculous high, because they were like, very low percentage to even make the playoffs, that's when you take advantage and go, okay, but they're still alive. Coaching, his athleticism and abilities, the team makeup as a whole, Derrick Henry at the running back, etc., etc. We have a couple tickets where we bet like $25 to win, like 800, and that's pretty good. And it wasn't even, one was to win the AFC, and then one was to win the Super Bowl. So we kind of hedged a little bit against the tickets that we own. And again, we're happy to lose that money because it was just in case they went on that run, which they did, because had they won in week 18, right now they'd be in the dance. They'd be one of the 7 teams in the AFC in the dance, thus kicking out one of maybe our teams that we had on a ticket, costing us money that way. And so we want to get paid for a little something. And so there are moments in the season that actually are better than guessing right in August, because it's a fluid season. And so that's another thing. We want you guys to stay tuned with us. Give us a follow, subscribe, like, smash that like button, but subscribe, because throughout the year, between the end of the Super Bowl to September kickoff, we are going to be trying to give you guys some information and some look aheads and suggestions on how you can take $5 and turn it into 1,000 or more. I've got tickets right now where a $5 bet is going to equate to 5,000, 6,000, as much as 8,000, and these tickets are still alive. I don't expect them to get much further, because like one of the tickets, for instance, is Pittsburgh to play, the Rams in the Super Bowl. The Rams, not a long shot. But Pittsburgh to run the table probably is. But in this game, you never know. And it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks and a couple of weird bounces. And holy mackerel, there you go. Anyway, where we're going to toot our horn here, and we will show you guys the tickets after the Super Bowl at the end to show you that we are not just, tooting our own horn. We have tickets. And I think that any, knowledgeable football person and slash gambler will be a little impressed, because not a lot of people, not a lot of pundits, not a lot of experts had these teams making it this far, let alone to the Super Bowl. So of the 7 AFC teams, we have tickets for, now again, I talk about favorites being not a good investment, but with Josh Allen, you got to respect, just he is enough to say, okay, we'll put a couple of tickets in. Now with the Buffalo tickets, to be interesting, it took a little bit more. A lot of the tickets you'll see at the end are $5 and $10 bets that we made, right? Because again, we figure we're talking to people like us who they don't have hundreds or thousands of dollars to whisk away and bet and be frivolous with. This is literally coffee money, lunch money, and we're trying to build a bankroll. And if we can hit once or twice in a season, now we've got that bankroll, and we can go from a recreational weekend warrior to we can be a legitimate, do this as a side hustle and maybe even as a full-time gig one day. But you have to have a starting bankroll. Any gambler could tell you that. Anyway, so with the Buffalo bet, you'll notice our tickets, we bet as much as 25 or 50 bucks, and even then it's not a huge payout. But like one of our tickets that we do have is the most likely one that I thought, we as a team thought was a high likelihood, was Buffalo and the Rams. And the only reason it made sense was because at the time in August, there was a lot of rumors and news reports about Matthew Stafford and there was a back issue, right? And we were like, we didn't take that lightly. If his back is out and at his age, it's a done deal. But we figured coaching, that organization has their stuff together. We fear and respect that organization, the Rams, even though we hate him as a Seahawks fan. But McVay has proven since the day he walked in, he knows what he's doing, and he and whoever else over there is making decisions, they know what they're doing. And so they were, at the time that we were in Vegas, and that's part of it too, right? Is I live in a state where it's harder to get we don't get these exactas. So I have to pick a moment before kickoff and pick a window and go and then do my thing for a 4 or 5 day trip that I'm there in Vegas before the first week kickoff. And so at that moment, it was in August, I believe, like the second or third week in August, and the Rams were about a 20 to 22 to 1 to win it all. And so that number combined with, I think Buffalo was probably an 8 or 10, which is very bad. But the combination of the two was enough that we said, okay, well, we'll put a little bit of extra to make it, something. Because that was, like I said, if you knew that for a fact, you'd put as much as you can afford, right? So the 5 and 10s is what we can afford, but we'll pick 1 or 2 combinations where we, again, high likelihood, high probability, right? Low variance and all that. Okay, so but anyway, so the AFC, we have Buffalo, we have and had the Chargers, Denver. We missed. We really, there was a big argument, not hostile argument, debate. There was a big debate at the time at the machine with our crew. Houston was brought up. I really overlooked Houston. I thought that they would regress, and when they started out 0-3, man, I was crowing to the crew like, "See, guys, I saved us all some money." And isn't there egg on my face right now? So again, I own my mistakes. But gosh damn it, I slept on Houston. Jacksonville, none of us really took them seriously because up until this year, right, there's an actual thing called the Trevor Lawrence experience. I'm the biggest Trevor Lawrence fan. My wife says that I have a man crush on the guy, that he's my boyfriend. So, no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence. I love the dude. When he came out of Clemson, man, he was my favorite draft and all that. And even though I'm a Seahawks fan, I was rooting for him. But he just always made these silly mistakes that costed them games and whatnot. There's a bunch of reasons. So we missed on Jacksonville, and but what I didn't think of at the time was the coaching aspect, and that now is he's the same kid or same guy. I call him kid because I'm freaking 60 something years old. But he's the same player, but he's playing at a whole different level, and you gotta factor in that experience. Yes, that definitely counts for something. It's another year in the league, another year wiser and smarter. But we definitely think that it's Liam Cohen, and his fingerprints are all over that growth. So we missed that there. But anyway, and then finally we had the Pittsburgh Steelers. A really good friend of ours. Shout out to her. She is a phenomenal football fan, and I love her insights and intake or takes on things. I always pick her brain, and she's one of those people that she's an informed fan, so she doesn't just know just the surface of what everybody else watches on TV and happens to see a minute of a game and think that she knows football. She knows football, but she's also kind of general public, where she's just smart enough to do some damage in the betting field, but not sharp enough to do this for a living. Although she could if she put her powers towards it. It's just that she doesn't have time to do it. But anyway, she's a big Bear fan, and I call her and talk to her and asked her for some advice. And her take was Aaron Rodgers, and why I'm saying this is because her take was kind of the public perception, so she kind of represented a good portion of the informed bettor. Aaron Rodgers, a little bit too old. Not the most liked guy, after his tenure in Green Bay and then the Jets and his ayahuasca stuff and all his weird things that he's done over the past couple of years and this, that, and a lot of people just don't like he's cocky and brash, they call him, or whatever. But take away all of that, the football IQ is as high as anybody in the game right now. I'd say him and Stafford probably the two smartest quarterbacks under center. But again, this league is you got to look at and pair. So they had a decent offensive line, not the greatest, but not the worst. Middle of the pack. So, and again, with his quick release, then the offensive line goes from average to top 10 because pass rush won't get them. Now, offensive line will matter in the run game, but that's where I looked at. I've always liked Jaylen Warren. Wasn't really a big fan of Gainwell early on, although, again, that's where I was wrong because he has been phenomenal as well. But we knew Warren was special. That guy, every time he touches the ball, it's 5 to 8 yards, and he catches out of the backfield. He can pick up a blitz on a quick block. He flares out. He reads. He follows it. He follows instructions from a leader like Rodgers. He's smart, high football IQ as well, where he's reading what the quarterback's reading and may even pick up something that the quarterback doesn't pick up on at times. Factor all that in. Then they got DK Metcalf. They just had done, to me, they had done just enough. And what was funny is when they went and got Ramsey, I wasn't very impressed because I know Ramsey, for instance, is kind of on the decline. And last game, he was the reason that Baltimore scored a couple of big plays. I attribute 14 points against Ramsey. So again, they've moved him from corner to safety because he's lost so much of the step. So I looked at Pittsburgh as a whole, and I just respect the football IQ of Rodgers so much. Add in that they've got Tomlin, who might be one of the best coaches in the league on any given day, with not much there. So I think they overspent, obviously, now hindsight being 2020, clearly they overspent on defense or put together the wrong pieces. But lately, that defense has kind of found their second win. You've got Hayward, you've got Highsmith, you've got TJ Watt. On the back end, you've got, Joey Porter Jr. There's a lot of pieces there. I think they could make a run. And our picks this week, we're gonna let you know about that. But I don't think they could get to the Super Bowl. To be honest, I wouldn't bet on it at this moment. But we did again back in August. So my point is, and then we're touching on it, is Chargers, Denver, Buffalo, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's 4 teams of the AFC. That's over half the field that we got right. And we have more than just one combo of them. Like, for instance, one of the combos we have is Pittsburgh and Green Bay. I don't expect that to happen. But if it does, a $5 bet gets us, a few $1,000s. So, again, nice return for a small investment. On the NFC side, the same thing. We have Seattle, multiple Oh, and I'm sorry, by the way, we got what? So, Chargers, Denver, Pittsburgh, and the Patriots. Is that what I already had said? Chargers, Denver, Pittsburgh, Patriots. Oh, and Buffalo. So actually, we've got 5 of the 7. Okay, but we don't have every possible combination is the problem. But we've got 5 of the 7. I forgot to mention the Patriots. And the Patriots, a lot of people didn't see coming because they were a 4-win team last year. But we factored in, okay, we knew their schedule in August already. We knew that they were going to have an on paper PFF grade and all that stuff. We knew that they were going to have an easy schedule. We knew that Vrabel is a great coach. We knew that he was going to turn around the culture. They've got fantastic ownership in Kraft. And our only gamble was, would Drake May live up to be a starting quarterback in this league? And he's answered that question. He is in the front runner. Him and Stafford are neck and neck, I think, for the MVP. So out of 7 teams, we've got 5 covered. We missed on Houston, which actually my team suggested we do it. I kind of bet against it. I was wrong. And then Jacksonville, who we love, we made a brain fart and did not factor in Liam Cohen because the coach, Colin Cowherd said something really smart mid-season this year, and it's really stuck with me, is in this moment in time in the window that we're in for the NFL, being in a passing league, the way the officiating is, what the NFL wants to the product to be for the viewer and all that. If you have 3 things, you can get to the dance. And if you want to make it this, he goes really into depth, and this goes even. We don't have enough time to talk about all this, but he then talks about if you have, I think it's 7 to 9, like dogs. If you have 7 to 9 alphas that you can name, household name guys that you can that rise up and perform. You've got like that was last year's Philadelphia Eagles when you had Saquon Barkley, AJ Green, obviously the quarterback, but you had the draft guys like the corners and safeties, all the defensive line, all that. There you can name more than 9 guys. So and that was his point. That if you have that kind of firepower, you're going to make it to the Super Bowl and you're dangerous. But the 3 things that you need to get into the dance, you need a coach, you need the coach, you need the quarterback, obviously, and you need a left tackle to protect that quarterback. And that doesn't guarantee that you get to the dance, but it gives you a good starting point. Now, obviously, you need a running game. You need a wide receiver that can catch. There's a bunch of stuff you need. But if you are lacking those 3 things, one of those 3 things, you are going to fall short. Was his point. And if you kind of look at it, it makes it the only, I'd say, exception to that rule right now in this moment is the LA Chargers. But I would argue the left tackle that has taken over for Alt, he's done a decent job. He's done enough. And their quarterback and their head coach are so far and above the baseline of what you need that head coach and quarterback to be, that they're you need the head coach and the quarterback, but then they're like the upper tier or upper echelon that like we talked about earlier in the season about tiers of teams, well, tiers with people. Harbaugh might be one of the best coaches to ever coach, and that's not my opinion. That's a lot of expert people's opinions. And then Herbert, a lot of people are pushed back and like, he's, he craps the bed in playoff games. Look what he's been working with up until with every chance he's been given in the playoffs. He never had a coach, or he didn't have any pieces to work with, but he's been there and he's gotten there and he's held his own. And this year, with a suspect offensive line, which you absolutely need in the playoffs, he's like people saying he's doing smoke and mirrors. To some extent, I can't argue with that. I would say, yeah, that's true. I think it's because of coaching and Justin Herbert's abilities. I think that those two can make up for the deficiencies of the O-line, and they do have like Omari and Hampton, the running back, the draft kid, and then they have Kamani Vidal, who's the backup to Hampton. So you've got two decent running backs. They've got their tight end, I think Gadsden. They've got their wide receiver. Excuse me. They've got Ladd, who is amazing. They have also a big play catch guy, but Keenan Allen, who is a veteran, maybe doesn't have the speed anymore, but the guy can run any route in the route tree. He knows how to get open, and he can get you that first down. And he's such senior leadership and almost a coach on the field, and just that old school leadership in the locker room that you kind of need to help stabilize. I guarantee you, he's not one of the guys that Harbaugh ever worries about being late, going home early, or effing off in between. He is, there and attentive and always doing extra. So, anyway, so we have all those in the AFC. In our NFC tickets, now we'll get with, and 5 out of 7 is not bad, you got to admit. In the NFC, we had the Seahawks, we have the Rams, and again, Rams we were lucky in that rumor or that news was going around about his back, which I think the Rams probably wouldn't have been lower than a 15-1, but because of that news and our timing being in Vegas during that window of news in the preseason, we were very fortunate that the Rams had dropped down to like a 22-1 on average, which is really just enough to get a nice combination of teams where you got, you could put the Rams. Like I said, we've got a ticket with the Rams and the Patriots. It's a nice ticket for $5 because the Patriots were a long shot and the Rams were a mid shot. I'll say 22-1, and so the combination of the two, $5 gets you paid a few $1,000s, which is nice. Anyway, so our NFCs again. So we've got the Rams and the Seahawks. We missed San Francisco. We thought that, like the Kansas City Chiefs, we kind of overthunk this in that they've been so good for so long that they were due for kind of a regression. Man, were we ever wrong? Shanahan, tip of the cap. You basically been a pain in my ass because I've been having to work really hard to offset that miss because San Fran is so dangerous. Again, like we knew Philly, we figured Philly would get in, but they would be a low. We thought they'd be a wild card, so we were wrong. They're a 3 seed, but we knew that they would get in, but we figured that they wouldn't make it deep. They would make a deep run, especially, just the wear and tear on any team like, the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what's so impressive about a dynasty, because your season and your wear and tear is much longer than all the other teams, right? Because you wild card weekend and then divisional round and then the NFC AFC championship, then the Super Bowl. And so your off season is a lot shorter, getting right back to work than the other guys that didn't go into the playoffs. And so you're beat up, the wear and tear, like the tire off the tread, as they say. we figured Philly would be in there, but we figured the wear and tear and the new blood and the talent that would be in there, it would kind of take care of itself. So we chose to avoid, and again, the odds. Philly was a 20-1 like Rams were. We would have bet on them just like everybody else that we have in there, because again, the math would have made sense. But we have the Seahawks, we have the Rams, we have Chicago Bears. A lot of people did not have Chicago going this deep, and again, we'll admit a lot of their bounces have been lucky. You need a little bit of luck, but again, luck favors the prepared mind. And what do they have? I just went on a rant about here a minute ago. Ben Johnson, the coach, Caleb Williams, the quarterback. They've definitely got their left tackle. They've got a whole O-line. They've got a running game in both Swift and Monangai. They've got DJ Moore and Odunze are two wide receivers that are good as just about anybody in the league. They've got their two tight ends actually. Loveland was a great. If you watched him late in week 17, 18, crucial and he's building a really good chemistry with Caleb. But they already had a tight end, so you've got that senior leadership and a good tight end teaching the new guy, and so they've got basically a 1-2 punch with those guys. Again, their defense is lacking. They're like a leaky bucket on their defense, but they are because I think, and I could be wrong, this is my opinion, I think that Ben Johnson recognizes, okay, all their deficiencies on defense, but he really gets after them with, okay, bend, don't break. Try to get a turnover somewhere. If the defense can get 1 or 2 turnovers in a game at any point and give Caleb and the offense that one more possession, that'll be the difference. And they'll outscore you, they'll outplay you, and that's how they kind of approach things. And they almost beat San Francisco with that, with a pick six right off the bat. That it was like a heavyweight fight where there was no defense, but every time somebody punched, the guy took the punch and then punched back, and it came down to the last possession. It really did. So again, we think that that's how Johnson and the Bears are approaching this season. We think they're ahead of schedule because a lot of people, including us, thought that the Patriots and the Bears would kind of be in a rebuild, but kind of tickle or touch the playoffs in a 7 or a 6 wild card. But they both far exceeded expectations because both of them ended up at the 2 seed. And so again, tip of the cap. But we were right. So we had Seattle, we had the Rams, we have the Rams, we have Chicago, we have Green Bay, and that was well before Micah Parsons and that whole thing went on. So we were right there. And then let me see, do we have a... No, in the NFC, we were only right on 4. I will tell you guys that some of the teams we missed on, but you could kind of gather or garner our logic from when I tell you this. So some of the NFC teams we had that we missed on was Minnesota. They've got the coach. We weren't sure about the quarterback, but like Caleb, we thought, okay, the coach knows what he's doing. The organization is a sound organization. They're like the Seahawks, Green Bay, San Francisco. That they're not one of the dumpster fires. So trust management and trust the coach that JJ McCarthy was more than we thought. We thought that he might be a decent game manager, and we would see, right? Unfortunately, the guys lived in the blue tent or on the sidelines for injuries. So that hasn't worked out, but they had that rough stretch early with Wentz and all that debacle. So, but we thought that Minnesota was a good bet. Again, $5, $10. Minnesota. We had Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, the weapons I talked to you earlier about. Even if they don't have any defense, they can trade scores with anybody. And so we kind of thought that Cincinnati and Minnesota were 2 teams that would be here in the 7 on the NFC and AFC side. We were wrong on those. But anyway, so we have 5 of the 7 teams in the AFC. We have 4 of the 7 teams in the NFC. and the fifth one, the Philly, we chose to stay away from them. So to our credit, we knew that Philly would be in. We just, the odds weren't there, and we figured that it would work itself out in the first, in wild card and division. We figured that somewhere along the line they'll get knocked off. What else? I'm trying to think for a second here. The NFC, we absolutely got San Francisco wrong. We thought there would be a regression, and then oh no, I'm sorry. We do have 5 because we had or no, we don't have 5 because we had 5 for a minute because we had Tampa. But Tampa got in on Saturday, then got bounced on Monday because of the Atlanta-New Orleans game. So, but again, like I talked about earlier with Baltimore, when Carolina looked at its darkest, we went and offset. Now, Carolina's not going to the Super Bowl, but we did offset that where we bet basically a couple of $5 bets. And we'll show you these tickets at the end. So we kind of have Carolina covered by default because we have 2 tickets, $5 each, where one pays like $600 and one pays like $1,200 for them to win the Super Bowl. So we're all in. We have like $1,800 return if they should win the Super Bowl, and they don't have to meet anybody. They're a single team ticket, not an exacta. Because we did that mid-season as the roller coaster, and when they struggled the most, but we started to look at them and go, and then they ended up beating Green Bay, and then they ended up beating the Rams, and we were like, oh, it's a good thing we bet it. But we saw enough at some point where somebody on the team suggested and said, hey, we better go cover Carolina, which we did. So there was that. But the Rams will play Carolina this week, so again we have the Rams covered. Green Bay and Chicago. Unfortunately, that's 2 of our teams, so one will get knocked off by the other. The nice part is that we don't have to hedge that this week. And then the nice part too on the other side is with Philly and San Fran. Although we don't have either of them, one will be gone, right? They'll eliminate one will eliminate the other itself. The only unfortunate part is we kind of wish that it would fell where Chicago would be playing somebody, one of them, and Green Bay would be playing one of them, because then they have a chance of both moving on to the next round. What you want is all your guys, all your teams alive going into the final AFC and NFC matchup. I'll tell you right now that for us as our team, the ideal scenario would be the Patriots and the Broncos in the AFC Championship, and the Rams and the Seahawks in the NFC Championship, with either the combo of the Seahawks facing the Denver in the Super Bowl, or the Patriots facing the Rams in the Super Bowl, is where we would get paid out pretty decent. Although, again, like I said, we do have like a weird ticket. We do have like Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seahawks with a $5 bet. Believe it, is $19,000 for $5. But I bet against that all day, every day right now going in. But again, with the NFL, you never know. So again, we will teach you guys and let you guys know off season from the Super Bowl and going into the first week of the kickoff in the next NFL season. We'll let you guys know what are some of our better bets for the exactas, along with futures and some other things. There was a bet this week that John Middlecoff, who is a former NFL scout, and he works kind of basically under Colin Cowherd. I think he's independent. He's going to start up his own Netflix special kind of podcast thing going on. Really informative, really smart guy. Really love listening to him. And he had a bet. Oh my God, he had a really interesting one where it was only four division winners. Because it's hard enough. There's 8 divisions, so to get all 8 right. I read something where if you would have guessed all 8 correctly at the beginning of before kickoff, I think like I don't if it was either $10 or $100. Don't quote me. It was one or the other. It was $10 or $100. But even at $100, it had you gotten all 8 division winners correct, the payoff would have been like $7 million or something crazy. So you know it this is what I'm talking about, where there's ways to make money here, and for a very, very tiny thrill. But Middlecoff had, when he cashed out, he bet $100, and he had the Patriots, the Steelers, the Seahawks, and I think it was Philly. And I'll tell you something, the long shots for him there were the Patriots, the Seahawks, and Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh was almost a loss because it came down to the last game night of the season, and they had to win they had to really earn it. But Philly was kind of a gimme in that, right? Of the 4, I think if you would ask most experts, based on just coming off of the Super Bowl, what everybody thought of Dallas, which they turned out to be a little wrong. Dallas gave people a scare, but with Giants having the new quarterback and basically hoping to build, and not Arizona, that's the old NFC. Who am I missing? Oh, Washington. Washington. Now, arguably, a lot of people say, "Oh, Washington, they made a run to the NFC Championship. Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, all that stuff." We thought the same. We did have some tickets with Washington, but we had the same concerns and didn't go heavy on Washington for the simple reason, and it turned out to be correct. And again, shout out to Cowherd pointing out this information, which then we took a magnifying glass to, and he was correct, which is, could Jaden Daniels last the season? Because he's not the biggest frame guy, and taking the hits that they take and so forth. And again, he's turning out to be not. Everybody after last year, everybody thought, "Oh, Caleb Williams was the wrong pick." On a redraft, Jaden Daniels absolutely number 1 Heisman winner, and lighting the world on fire. For a moment, Washington got to the NFC Championship, but now all of a sudden, redo, and it looks like because Caleb's big, he's stout, he is available every week. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't get injured. He runs well, but he runs and plays smart. And he's not tall like Josh Allen, big guy, but he's 6-something, but he's stout, he's thick, he's big. And so he can absorb and take some of these hits. And he's not taking a lot of hits, which makes him available and smart in that way. So again, it's one of those things, you look at all the data and you listen to the people much smarter than yourself, and you can come out with that. I want to touch on real quick, guys. There's a couple of interesting, now these aren't our official picks, but we want to share with you guys everything. A lot of people right now are talking about like Josh Allen, like the Bills, like this is their year. That it's not about this is their year they're gonna win it, but this is their year they need to win it, because this is the only year that there's probably going to be, or we know there's not going to be, but it probably going forward is going to be a rare year with no Mahomes and no Burrow, and now you have a bunch of other stars starting to rise up and become hard to deal with. And so right now, if you look at the field, except for Stafford, who it would be the Super Bowl, there's not a lot of quarterbacks who scare you. People have said it, and I agree that the field has never been so wide open as it is this year. And so Josh Allen, if you don't do it this year, my God, it's kind of like it's one of the easiest road paths to it this year. But I would push back a little bit by saying, maybe no Mahomes and no Burrow in there, and some people have even thrown Lamar in there, which I don't agree with that because he's never made it past the first round. But Jacksonville with Lawrence, Jacksonville is a really complete team that no one's talking about. Their offense is high scoring and efficient. They're running the ball. They've got 3 wide receivers. They've got a tight end. They've got a running game, and their defense turns it over. They get turnovers. You know what I mean? And they play stout. They are a solid top 15 defense, so to speak. They've got strong home field. I worry for Allen and the Bills this week going to Jacksonville. I think that Josh Allen can put this team on his back and beat Jacksonville. The problem I fear the most out of all the issues that they have, they lack on defense in the pass game. They don't have any, alpha, AJ type or Metcalf type wide receivers or Njigba type wide receivers. They've got Knox and Kincaid, the tight ends, right? And then they've got Shakir. But they've got the number one running back with Cook. They've got Josh Allen, who is one of the best quarterbacks and athletes in the NFL. But what scares me is that change of environment. It's really cold in Buffalo. I don't know this. I have no idea. But I hope that McDermott, the coach, has taken Buffalo to Jacksonville, to Florida. I hope that he's already there. I hope that he got there on Monday to acclimate that team, because that, to me, is going to be the great equalizer that costs this team. That, they start out slow to begin with. They come on at the end like gangbusters with Buffalo. The way they play. They can't afford to fall behind against Jacksonville, especially with this home field and this humidity and all of that. I think that that's going to be the kiss of death. So, again, it's one of those things on a neutral field, like if this was in Dallas Stadium, I would take Buffalo by a small margin. I think that the line is correct, but I think that the line is not factoring in that Florida weather. And for years, teams like the Patriots, who were well put together and far superior to any team in the NFL in that moment, would always go down to Miami and struggle late in December. Once it got really cold, because then you're going to this 70-degree humidity and maybe even hotter, and sucks the life out. Anyway, that's my worry with Buffalo. So we're kind of avoiding that game altogether. I will tell you. So let me give you guys, now this isn't official picks. This is a little bit of coffee money to sprinkle and maybe hit a long shot and really cash out with some fun stuff and some good stuff. So couple of the things we're giving you. Again, take this with a grain of salt. This is more like $5 and $10 bets, coffee money stuff that you could win a lot from a little. So there's a few here, and they may be counter to our actual picks. So for instance, if we tell you to take this week, if we tell you to take Buffalo, but then I'm giving you this parlay that has Jacksonville money line and Jacksonville plus 1.5 and Jacksonville on a teaser. Again, to bet your one unit or whatever you do bet on a game, we might be telling you Buffalo, but for $5 or $10 or whatever you can afford. And if you can afford a $50 parlay with a 5-teamer, God bless you. But stuff you can afford to kiss goodbye or throw away, burn money. This is that. It's that little bit for a long shot. But you might get a little lucky and it'll come to fruition. So this is why we want to throw it out to you guys and give you guys the opportunity to play it. Anyway, so one of the ones we like is, this is a 5-teamer here, is Rams money line, Jacksonville money line, San Fran plus the points. And again, we always suggest you, but if it's at 4.5 already, you won't need to buy any points, because to get it to 6.5, not really a key number. 5 is kind of a dead number. So taking it to 6.5 is not really. If you could get it to 7, sure, but we don't think it's going to get to 5, so you won't be able to buy 2 points to get it to 7. So again, Rams money line, Jacksonville money line, San Fran plus the 4.5. Excuse me, make sure it's 4.5. LA Chargers plus 3.5, and Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3.5. Now, that's with the then. By the way, sorry. Then we have another one. Because on this one, Rams money line, Jacksonville money line, San Fran money line, LA Chargers money line, and Pittsburgh money line. $10 would get you somewhere between $400 and $700. And I would do a couple of things where I would do, if you think it's possible, I would even do one where I swap out Rams money line and go ahead and put Rams minus, buy enough points back to Rams minus 9.5. You don't want to give 10 or 10.5, but get it down to 9 or 9.5. And we would even suggest that you do one where you swap Philly and San Fran, because we really think that game could go either way. But if you're taking Philly, obviously take Philly money line. You don't want to lay points. But if you take San Fran money line and take San Fran plus the points. You do a couple. Then with that 5-teamer, if you want a little bit of a bigger payout, so you're looking to be a little bit more adventurous, add Indiana Hoosiers, the Friday CFP game, the college game. Add Indiana at the money line for a 6-teamer. I don't, off the top of my head, have the numbers in front of me of what that pays, but I promise you it's going to be better than $400 to $700 because you're adding a 6th team, and they're not a huge favorite. So there you go on that one. I had that money line there. Okay, that was a 5-teamer. I even have one here: Rams money line, Jacksonville money line, Philly money line, Chargers money line, Pitt money line, Indiana money line, and Miami U money line. $10 supposedly gets you about, when I looked this up, like $527 and change. But that one's just for kicks and giggles. But here is a real interesting one I want you guys to take down. It means it's a long shot for sure, but it's very interesting. When I ran the numbers, I was like, holy smokes. And this is kind of more of a fade the public. So the public is heavy right now, heavy on Miami, the college, and on Indiana, the college. I think that Indiana is going to be good for that one. I think they'll win easily and cover that game. But there's a money line parlay here to be had, which is Ole Miss. Take Ole Miss money line, Oregon money line, San Francisco 49ers money line, the Chargers money line, Pittsburgh money line. That $10 will get you almost $1,200 just for those 5. Then this is crazy. Add in I get it. It's a waste of money. Carolina money line to beat the Rams. Not going to happen. But for $5 or $10, so $10 will get you over $6,000. Over $6,000 for a $10 bet. I'm in when anything is possible in the NFL. And remember, Carolina just beat the Rams in Carolina not long ago. Now, if Rams head down, you never know. I mean, play number 2 or 3, a linebacker could take Stafford out of the game. And then what? Again, anything in the NFL is possible. So for $10 to win $6,000, hey, I'll take that shot. I would even suggest, so the 5-teamer is Ole Miss, Oregon, San Fran, the Chargers, and Pittsburgh, and a 6-teamer is add Carolina. I would do $10 on each, the 5 and the 6. And then I have a note here: to toy around with the Rams, where you can go ahead and do it minus 10. Do one with Carolina plus the 10.5 now, and then do one with like Philly and San Fran, giving and taking the 4.5 on this here. So toy around with a few to those 5 and 6 teams that I just gave you, and we're okay if I add some, because a lot of them are dogs, right? Add with the points and stuff and see what that pays out. And again, everybody's different. If you can afford to do one straight money line and one with all the points, and maybe even a teaser, where you can do a teaser, which would be a 6 or 7 game teaser, add your favorite. A lot of these games should go under because it's wild card weekend. It's over a 60 percentile that if you did unders blindly, you're going to hit at over a 60% rate. But anyway, you do a teaser, a 16 teaser, a couple $100 might get you $500, but you're adding another 7.5 points to your line. And with all these dogs, I think a lot of these games might be close. And with the Carolina game, I wouldn't count on the Rams not beating them by 17. but that's a lot of points to be laying in the NFL. So again, just letting you guys know that. Anyway, this has been a long-winded. I get it. Oh, here I have the note right here. So if you would have bet $100 on Bears, Panthers, Seattle, Pats, Steelers, Broncos, Jacksonville, and the Eagles, $100, I have it right here, would have gotten you $700 million, not $7 million, $700 million. That's nuts. I got that off another betting podcast that I subscribe to. It hasn't been fact checked. It doesn't surprise me, but oh my God, can you imagine? I don't know if anybody would have even taken the bet, and if you hit it, I don't know how they would pay the bet. You'd probably be part owner of that hotel. But anyway, we'll get to our picks finally here. And as we've talked about, there's a lot of look-aheads. Oh, one more thing real quick is futures best right now, future bets right now. Everybody's different. I can't afford to lay $100 on a long shot that probably won't come to fruition. But I was looking at, and again, all the futures are still, at this point of the season, to get Chicago at 20-1 and the Chargers at 30-1, that if you can afford, if $100 to you is like a cup of coffee to most people, hey, $100 gets you $2,000 for the Chicago bet, and the Chargers is $3,000, or even at $50, right? You get $1,000 and $1,500. That is not a bad bet. Again, I don't expect it, but why I bring it up is if you've got slips like mine with the exactas and whatnot, and you need to hedge, one of the other ways to hedge rather than betting, because if you stand to make $5,000, and right now you can scrape up $500 to offset that or hedge it, and you can only do it once, and there's 3 weeks to go in this playoff. It doesn't pad the wound if your ticket goes down in flames this weekend or next weekend or the following weekend. But what might help you is $100. If you need the root against Chicago right now, right? You got Green Bay to win it all, and so you got to take week to week. Well, this week, bet $100 on Chicago to win it all. Now, again, yes, they could win this week against Green Bay and then lose the following week, but it's something that you've got, skin in the game and a chance. And if your Green Bay ticket goes down, now you've at least got a $2,000 ticket. Now you're kind of turning and rooting for Chicago, but they've already done one. They only need to get through two more, right? So just look at the futures. It's a way to hedge and offset things that you need to offset, and it's a cheaper way to approach it with a bigger payout on the backside. So there's also funky FanDuel, DraftKings. They have weird stuff. I love one here. I was reading one where if each team to score one touchdown or more, one or more rushing touchdowns in all 6 wild card games, it's plus 15,000. So $100 gets you 15,000. I love that bet. Each team to score one or more rushing touchdowns. So each team needs to rush one touchdown into the end zone. So a defensive touchdown doesn't count. A little dump off pass doesn't count, which is unfortunate. That that's the way San Fran plays a lot of their game. I could see where they don't have a rushing touchdown all day because they dump it to McCaffrey. He could have 3 touchdowns, but all of them are technically receiving. So it's not as easy as it sounds, but it's plus 15,000. $100 gets you 15,000. How can you not do that one? I don't have access to DraftKings or FanDuel in my stupid, dumb run political state yet. We're almost as bad as Minnesota with our blue heads up our butts. But when we can finally get DraftKings and FanDuel, that will be some of the things that I'll be laying down. The other day pissed me off. I woke up Sunday morning and I ended up coming up off the top of my head with a 6-team money line round robin parlay that would have costed me $250 something bucks to cover all the threes and all the 4 ways. And literally
5 out of the 6 came through. It was Washington, Detroit, Pittsburgh. I can't remember the other dog, but anyway, it was a 6-teamer, and 5 of the 6 teams won outright. I was so mad because I woke up late and I couldn't get down to the kiosk. I need to go physically to the casino, which is about a half-hour drive from my home, and I woke up with literally a half hour to kickoff, so I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I was like, well, that's probably the long shot anyway. And of course, right, that one hit 5 out of 6, which would have been a bunch of 5 4s and a bunch of 3s, but it would have paid out a couple of $1,000 for a $250 investment. So that kind of sucked. Anyway, our best bet this week is not really so our best bet, we're going to give it to you right here, right now. Our best bet of the week is the LA Chargers at plus 3.5. We understand the offensive line issues. We've done a deep dive into this. No disrespect. New England is no joke. We think New England could go all the way. Here's the thing. New England has not played. Right now, they've only played one team with a winning record. Ends up with the Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or whatever. They could have lost to Atlanta. It was a missed field goal. But point being is by all the data and the PFF and the strength of schedule and all this and that, they have annihilated everybody they played. So that's why we think they've mowed down everybody that's been put in front of them. The problem is no one's been put in front of them. So if you go by strength of schedule and wins and all of that, the Chargers, we think that coaching, it's almost a wash. Vrabel's a really good coach. Harbaugh, we think, is a little bit better. Definitely more experience in playoffs. Definitely, he's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to a couple of NFC championships, etc. Quarterback edge, believe it or not, I get it. Drake May's the MVP candidate. We think Herbert's a little bit better. Definitely more experienced. And there's something that they say about first-time quarterbacks in the playoffs don't tend to do well. There's that. They do have some holes and issues on their offense and defensive line. They are susceptible to big plays, but we just think that all the experience and all the key pieces that the Chargers have and Chargers defense, we think that even if New England wins, it's 3 and the hook. You got to make sure you get that hook. I would suggest taking it to 4 and the hook, because 24-20, then you got that hook. So 4.5 is what we're laying this at. Although the official line is 3.5, our pick is at the 4.5. We're telling you got to buy the extra point. Now, another pick that we like very much is we like Jags, the Jacksonville Jaguars first half. First half, it's either they're getting one or a pick, but first half, because Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Jaguars start out quick. Buffalo Bills, stronger second half team. We fear for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills that they don't even come out of this game winners. But if they do win, it definitely will be in the second half. We feel that the Jags will come out with their script, and then just once the script is over, throughout the first half until the first half, 2-minute warning, and we think that they will definitely kind of be ahead and control the game, and then McDermott will have to adjust. Josh will have to adjust, put the team on his back, and if it's close, he'll bring them back and win, and that's kind of, we figure out how the script will go. That is our second pick. We've got the Chargers plus 4.5. We got the Jags first half, either even or taking a point. Then we like you, for those of you who have the extra money, this isn't as strong as the 2 picks I just gave you, because a teaser is kind of an investment and you need a bunch of stuff to happen. But if you can afford to tease a half a unit, as they say, whatever your half a unit is, we would suggest you tease the Rams. This is a 7.5 point teaser.
You can do a 3-teamer. It's the Rams, and then the 2 college games to make those interesting. We like Miami taking 4, and we like the Hoosiers taking 4 with a 7.5 point teaser. So you would be the Rams. Right now, you can still find 10, so you'd be laying minus the 7.5. You'd be laying less than 3. So the Rams laying less than 3, and then Indiana and Miami, the college teams, both taking 4. We love that scenario. That's why we're recording this and putting this out for you to have enough time to lay this tomorrow, because the first game, the Miami Ole Miss game, goes Thursday tomorrow. Clearly and obviously, we like the Rams money line and the Chargers plus 3.5. That gets you to a plus. So you'd have the Rams at having the win outright, and then the Chargers plus 3.5 on a 2-team parlay. I looked it up before I sat down. That's plus 121. So laying 100 gets you 121 back. And what the point is the Rams win that game, and then now you're getting a plus money to take the Chargers, because like we said, our best bet is the Chargers. But to just bet the Chargers, you probably have to lay 115 or 120 at plus 4.5, maybe even 130 at plus 4.5. And so this is a kind of a backdoor way to get a plus money line with your Chargers plus the 4.5. But the Rams will have to win outright money line. And then for shits and giggles, as we said, we would also tease the Rams, Philly. Let me just cross this off real quick. The Rams, Philly, the Chargers, and Pittsburgh, Houston under. That gets you to plus 180. The Rams, again, this is a 7.5 point teaser. So you would get the Rams plus 4. I'm sorry, you would be the Rams minus 3.5. Sorry, because they're given 10. The Rams are minus 3.5, but you'd be Philly plus 2.5 or 3. You'd be the Chargers plus 10.5 or 11, and you'd be Pittsburgh, Houston to stay under 46.5 or 47, whatever it is. But that's a plus 180. So you would that would be a nice little one there as well. But basically, we don't have a lot for you this weekend, but what we've given you, we think will make you some money. But we do love those 2 long shot parlays, the 5 and 16 money line parlays. Again, it goes against, some of the things that we've told you about, the Rams, this and that. But again, it's a long shot. It's $10, but if it comes through, you'll be thanking me on Tuesday, because there is one that plays Monday night, right, with Pittsburgh. But anyway, again, for those of you who are purists and you're just looking for that one pick, we like the Chargers plus 4.5, and we like the Jags in the first half. But take all the other parlays and teasers that we gave you guys. Hopefully you can afford to do some of those. Take some of the ideas that we've given you, mix mash, and come up with some of your own stuff. And hopefully you are in the winner's circle, and I'll see you guys at the window. As we always say, aloha and mahalo for checking in. Like and subscribe, and be good to yourselves. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you guys next week for the wrap-up and look ahead to the divisional round. Good luck to everybody, and have a wonderful weekend of football, Thursday through Monday. Aloha and mahalo. Peace out.